Welcome MA3 community. In this video we want to explain all the steps that are necessary to get this nice show file here up and running again with an entirely new stage layout. For this video we have modified our demo stage and added 4 different fixture types to it. So we have some profile moving lights in the front truss for front lighting, some hybrid LED moving lights as main fixture in the rig. In the background, some additional LED pixel tubes and also some GLP X4 bars to show you how to handle pixel bars that have a tilt movement. The first step it takes to get this show file up and running again is to patch your fixtures accordingly. Therefore, simply enter the patch menu of MA3. In here you will initially find some fixtures already patched after downloading our file, and those are the fixtures that matches the stage layout in our main demo stage. As our show file does not follow any clone show structure, you can simply delete the entire patch and there is no need to keep those fixtures in here and just modify the fixture types or so on. You can simply clear this completely. After this is done, let us bring in our new fixtures. As you can see in Capture, we have a total of 16 hybrid moving lights, 16 Astera LED tubes in the background, and 16 GLP X4 bars. So we will now simply bring them in accordingly. To do this, simply hit the Insert New Fixture button down below. Move over to the library so that you get all the fixtures, not just those one which are already in the show, and search for the corresponding type. In our case, those hybrid fixtures are from JB, so those P9 beam spots. And we will use them in mode 1, so let's call them just hybrid. We want to have 16 of them. Fixture ID, we start with 1000, but we will modify this directly. And we go for a patch, and I think Universe 1 count 1 is just fine and matches our DMX layout that we have in Capture. So we confirm this, and there we go. I will now just repeat this for the other fixtures, and we will fast forward this a bit in the video to keep it a bit more compact. After you've patched your fixtures successfully with the correct mode and the correct DMX patch, we can do a little bit of fine-tuning here and, for example, care about the fixture IDs, which are really great to structure your stage in a way that fits your mind the best. So we normally use a scheme where we separate different trusses with blocks of 100. So let me show this to you. As we can see here in Capture, we have 2 trusses by 8 of those hybrid moving lights, and therefore we will put the first ones to our first block of 100. So this will be 1101, and the second block of 8 moving heads will get 1201. So then we know easily that the range of 100 are the first spots in the truss 1, and the second block of 8 moving lights will be in the range of 200. I will now simply proceed with this method for the remaining fixture types and also adapt the naming a little bit. So according to our truss layout, we can, for example, call those hybrids just front truss, and those will be the hybrids in our back truss. And I will just continue, and we will also forward this a bit because I think you got this and understand the basic principle of it. After we've successfully structured our patch a bit better, we can simply close our patch menu and save and exit. With our adapted patch, we have successfully completed step 1 that is necessary to get everything up and running, and we can move on to our groups, which are a really important key element of the show file. So therefore we move over to the group view and start our work here. As we are using an onPC system, we will first just modify this view here. This is a view basically created for big consoles and a lot of different groups, but we will now just use a different one that is already prepared for you, and you can find it in the view pool. It is called groups small, and we just use the swipey command and assign this view here. So you can modify the show file really to your personal needs, and we will now get this nice new view where we also have the selection grid in. The first fixtures that we want to store into a group are our hybrid ones, so we will start directly with fixture ID 1101 through 1108, and this will give us the first 8 of them in this front truss here. Then afterwards we will click into the selection grid and move down because we want to get a next line, and use our 1201 through 1208 fixtures to get the next line. The show file is built in a way that it really uses this selection grid to build your symmetrical effects, and therefore it is necessary that this selection grid represents your stage layout in the best way. Therefore, we will now work on this gap here that you can see in the capture stage showing up, and we will therefore simply enter the setup mode here, which is a cool feature of MA3 2 point and above, where you can now simply click on a fixture and drag and drop it, and we will simply rebuild this little gap down below. Afterwards, close the setup dialog or mode and use this command, which will ensure that we start from the first index 0 here correctly. After this is done, simply type store or hit a star key if you're working on a console and store this to the group A, Symmetric A. You can choose override in this case because we will really start from scratch here. After you've stored your group successfully, you can do a quick check, which I would really recommend. So press the highlight key. I've already turned it on, otherwise it would look dark. And then just look on your real stage or your visualization and click the next key to check whether your selection grid works fine and represents your real stage layout. And as you can see in the comparison between the selection grid and capture, this looks quite good in this case, so we can clear our programmer by just hitting a key 3 times. As a next step, we want to give this entire fixture category a new name, and therefore we will modify this first group here. This is the group giving the name to this category, so we will call it hybrid, as this is the name for those fixtures. And this name will now also show up in all the layout views in the show file. As you can see, there are now still some groups left on this right side for fixture category A. But this is not an issue because you will only need them if you want access to some further functions of the show file, or if you're using pixel fixtures that have a master subfixture like our GLP X4 bars in this tutorial. So we will keep it simple for the moment and explain this more in detail later on and in a separate video. So let us move on to our fixture category B. Which consists of our Astera Titan tubes, so our LED tubes in the background, and we move on to the fixture sheet to check their arrangement or their structure first. And as you can see, we have them in an 8 pixel mode, so we have 1 to 8 pixels showing in a subfixture for every of those tube elements. And if we have a closer look at our stage, we remember that we have 8 of them in a horizontal line and 2 vertical lines, and this will give us a total pixel resolution of 8 and another 8, so 16 by 8 in total. And we will now represent this and rebuild this in our selection grid accordingly. The first thing we want to do is to set up the grid size using the grid command. So just enter grid into your command line and enter the corresponding starting point, which is 0/0, so your x and y axis. And as we want a grid with a size of 8, we have to enter through 7/7 because the MA3 system always starts to count from 0, so 0 to 7 will give you a width and a height of 8. Just hit please to confirm this, and afterwards you will get this nice pre-selected grid. After this, we have to specify all the subfixtures, and therefore we just enter all the fixtures from our first upper row, so 2101 through 2108 dot through, and this dot through at the end will give us only the subfixtures which we want for our SIMRIG group. As you can see, this works quite well, and we can now just store this as a separate group to make our life a bit easier, and we will just put it there and label it up row. We will now proceed the same way with our second row. So if we look at capture, we have now stored this up row of pixels, and we will now just do it in the same way for this bottom or down row. After this is done, there's just one more step to do before we can combine those two groups easily to our SIMRIG group A. And to show you this, I will just delete those view elements here to get this a bit bigger. If we look at our upper row group, we will notice that our first Titan cube, so 2101, is in this horizontal alignment here. And that's not the case with our real stage. We need them to be aligned vertically. And therefore there's this nice transform tool. You can just hit this and this will flip your grid accordingly. And now it's all fine. As you can see, we have the first pixel 2101.1 here, 2101.2 there, until we reach the 8 at the bottom. And now it's fine, so we simply hit store and override this group, and we clear our programmer and do it the exact same way for our down row. So we flip it and we just store and override this. After this is done, we can now simply combine those two groups. To do so, first select your up row group, and after that move down to this bottom left corner and select your down row afterwards. And there you go, you have your entire selection for your Titan cube arrangement. Simply hit store and override this first SIMRIG group for your category B. Before we continue, let us do a quick check also on our SIMRIG group for group B. And therefore just select it, and okay, this looks quite good. In capture, all fixtures are showing up. And then we can also use, in combination with highlight, our next key to just step through our grid. And as we see, this works quite good. By pressing set, you will get again the entire selection, and you can now also use the flip or the transform tool here to get the selection flipped to do a test with the single pixels, and this looks also quite fine. So we have a nice continuous pixel movement from top to the bottom, or from the left to the right if we flip it back. So this looks good, and we can continue with our next group. To do so, clear your programmer, and we bring back in our old view layout here. Moving on to our third and last fixture category in this tutorial, so the group C will introduce this pixel master group. This is especially designed and needed for elements that have for example, pixels and a basement with tilt movement, as it is the case with those X4 bars. If you're not interested in that, or if you just don't need this feature, just skip the tutorial where we continue with the presets. This would be just fine, and you can simply apply all the principles that we've shown during the setup of Group A and Group B. In our stage layout, we have those 2 rows with 8 X4 bars each. And we will check now the fixture sheet to get a better understanding of the pixel amount. So if we look into those X4 bars, we can see that we have 1 to 20 pixels per bar, and we will just bring them in our selection grid. As we have them all in a horizontal line, this will be quite easy. We can just enter 3101 through 3108. Dot through, which will give us the first row of 160 pixels. So we have 8 times 20 pixels. And for the second row, we just move down by clicking here and enter 3201 through 3208 dot through, which will directly give us the second line. And after that, we can store our Cymric group for fixture category C. Now we just repeat this step for our pixel master group with the main fixtures of those X4 bars. So therefore enter 3101 through 3108, which will just give us those main elements. We can just double check this also in the fixtures sheet. As you can see, no subfixtures selected. You would also see the numbers there if this would be the case. Select the next row, enter 3201 through 3208. And there you go, you have your master fixtures selected. And we can now store them into this pixel master group. And that's basically it. We are good to go with all our groups. With this, we have now completed step 2 out of 3, which are there to get this show file up and running again, and we can focus on the last step, which is adapting the presets in the show file. In the preset area, you will find a bunch of different presets, for example, for your positions up there, your gobos, for gobo rotation, strobes, prism, iris, zoom, and focus values. And they are all nicely structured for your different fixture groups by those macros and views up there. And by using those macros, you can switch between your different fixture groups. And the cool thing here is that this will also change your view bar on the right side so that you can, for example, quickly jump between your group view and the preset view for your fixture group that you're currently working on. In addition, you will also find the corresponding groups you're working on down below so that you get a quick access here to start programming your presets. In general, there is really no magic behind working with those presets in our show file, but there are 2 things that you should know. The first thing is, if you set up those first position presets, so the straight down and the straight up one, you can use auto position macro to get those remaining presets up and running, except some special ones. The other thing is that if you work with gobos, you should really split your gobo and focus values, so just store the gobo values there and the focus values here. This is important to ensure that you can use sharp gobo projections along your entire zoom range. But we will show this now step by step, and if you already know how to do this for sure, you can simply skip this section. Okay, so let's start with our position presets. Therefore, we simply select our group and ensure that we can see something by hitting highlight or edit to get those dimmer values up. And after that, we simply go for the first straight down position, which is in our way of thinking a position where the moving lights are just pointed downwards towards the stage. For example, like this. This would be fine, and we simply hit the store key and store this first preset. As there's nothing left in the preset we want, we can choose override here, otherwise you should choose merge. The straight up position is now a position where we want to get some moving lights also up. We could, for example, tilt up the entire rig like this, or we could also split it. For example, we keep the back truss down on our stage and we just select our spots in the front truss. So by entering 1101 through 1108, and we now just put those front lights up, for example, like this. And we can just keep it that way, hit store again, and store this second preset. After this, we can now cheat a little bit with our autopause macro. To do so, simply move over to the miscellaneous section and open the show file menu. And here you will find in our feature grid a gear icon with the text autopause. Hit this and you will be asked if you want to really override all your positions. In this case, it is fine, but be careful with this function because it will simply override all your position presets and maybe ruin your work if you've adapted them. So let us hit this now, and as you can see in the background in the capture feed, the show file is now creating some basic positions for you. After this is done, move back to your preset section and check the generated presets. You will now find presets for all those basic looks, like a fan out, fan in, and also some more complex fan looks, 2 fans, 3 fans, 4 fans, always in those different height levels that you've defined in your straight down and straight up look. Please be aware that not all of those auto-generated looks will work great with your stage layout because your stage layout is built with a certain width and a certain selection grid. So for example, a 3-fan setup won't work with this stage layout as we have a selection grid with a width of 10 on our x-axis. So 3 fans in here won't work because we would always need 2 more fixtures to get 12 or leave out 1 fixtures to get 9, which can then be easily divided by 3. So with a selection grid width of 10, the positions that will work great are a 2-fan because we get then 5 parts separated by 2, or a 5-fan where we would have those bigger parts with a width of 5, so 2 of them. And we can also check this just to make sure that this is really the case. So we have our 2-fan up here, and for example our fan 5 down and up there. It is also really easy to fine-tune the looks with those presets as a starting point. For example, we could simply say that we want the front truss to be a bit lower in the tilt value, and therefore we just select the corresponding fixtures, adapt the tilt value until we are happy, for example just to this, and hit the store on this corresponding preset and use the merge command to get this look in there. And that's basically it. So you can use them as a starting point, save some time, and afterwards modify them to your personal needs. As you will probably notice, there are 4 presets left after running the auto position macro. And this is because we have 2 other presets that are just special positions, the one to blind your audience and the other one to use as an ambient scene, for example, with some nice spots on a wall in combination with some gobo projections. And for sure you have to set them up manually because the auto position macro just doesn't make sense for them. And those 2 other guys here are there to suppress running FX in combination with a position together with those groups down there, and we will explain this in a future video. So to complete your basic looks, just make sure to get a nice ambient look and a blind position as well, and after this you're basically set up with all your position presets. So let us also do this real quick here. So to start with, we just select our straight down position, bring the tilt value maybe just there to hit this back wall. We hit store our ambient position, and afterwards we just use the tilt again and bring those lights to this position and store our blind position. So this is it. We're basically set and done and can move to our gobo presets. To store our gobo positions, let us first use a better position preset for this. And yeah, make sure that you use add to get your dimmer at 100% or do it manually, but you can't use highlight for this because otherwise there will be no gobo visible. So after this is set, move over to the Gobo tab and we can start working on those presets. The first Gobo preset that we want to store is our Gobo Open preset, where we have to ensure that we open all the Gobo wheels. So not just Gobo 1, but also Gobo 2 in our case. So you can do this by using your encoder wheels on the console, or also by clicking in here or using the cool smart bar feature of MA3. So let us do Gobo wheel 2 by using the smart bar. After this is done and Gobo wheel 1 and 2 are open, hit the store key and store this first preset. We will now continue storing 3 gobos for Gobo wheel 1, and therefore just select first gobo, for example like this. In this step of the setup process we don't care about focus values. We will do this later on as already explained. And please make sure that you've not only selected a gobo for Gobo wheel 1 but also selected open for Gobo wheel 2. So let us store this first preset. We continue with a second one and always ensure Gobo wheel 2 is open here. And the third one, let's use those circles and make sure as well that Gobo wheel 2 is open. Store this preset. And now we do it vice versa. We ensure Gobo wheel 1 is open, select the gobo for Gobo wheel 2 like this. Bit hard to see those small dots. Let us use now this one. Open Gobo wheel 1, store this there. And the third gobo we want to use, let's use this funny rainbow one. Make sure again Gobo wheel 1 is open and store this last gobo. And yeah, this is it. You're done with the basic gobo presets. For gobo rotation, we proceed in the same way, and we will first store our rotation of gobo, so we can use rotate stop here, and we also do it for Gobo wheel 1 if there is this feature of rotation also for this gobo wheel. In our case it's not there, so we can just do this for our Gobo wheel 2. Hit store this preset and move on to the next slow rotation preset. So we do a rotation, for example like this, and we have a really smooth rotation there. If you like it, just keep it, otherwise modify this value. We just keep it as it is and store this second slow rotation preset. The last one is a bit faster, so we modify the speed here. And yeah, let's do this so that we get a clear difference. Maybe it's a bit fast for the real world, but I think it's fine for this tutorial. So hit store and store this last fast rotating preset. After this, we can clear our programmer and move on to our strobe presets. The strobe presets in the show file are divided into 2 main categories. Our normal strobe presets in 2 variants, so fast and slow strobe, and the random strobe presets also divided into a fast and a slow variant. And they are basically only used in our bump section at the moment, so it doesn't really matter what you put in there in terms of the function. So you could for sure also store a different pre-configured shutter effect in here. So let's store those presets real quick for our fixture group A. We select our group, put them to full intensity, and move over to the beam section, and let's give them a max strobe, which is too slow in this case. So we increase this a little bit until it's really fast, maybe like this, and store this as our first strobe preset. Then we simply decrease the speed a little bit, maybe a flashing like this. Store this as our second strobe preset. Move over to our random strobe. I can't see it there. Ah, there is it. Max rand. Okay, doesn't work quite well, so we adjust this a bit until we get a random strobe. Store this, modify the speed a bit again, store this, and say, okay, that's fine for now. So yeah, that's all we have to do here, and we can move on to our prism section. So for the prism, we simply continue in the same pattern, select our groups, bring them to full intensity, and let's have a look where we find the prism. There it is. We will now do it by clicking in here, so that you also see some different way of setting those different feature sets. So yeah, basically we can choose between open and a 3-facet prism. So we choose open, say store this first preset, select the 3-facet prism, store this second preset, and yeah, basically this third preset is now left over. There is no second prism on this fixture type, so we just select the 3-facet prism again and store this preset here with the same, so that we ensure a working prism if we select one of those two prisms here. We don't want to get no function with prism 2. That's why I just store the same preset again in this case. To continue directly with our iris presets, just make sure your iris is wide open. I do this with my encoders on my onPC command ring on my desk. Hit store, store the iris white preset, then we bring it a bit down, maybe like this for our iris mid preset. And last not least, we reduce it to a really tiny beam, maybe like this. No, we don't use the closest value because I think it's just too close for my personal preference. So I keep it as it is and store this iris narrow preset. To directly continue with our zoom, we just clear our programmer to make sure nothing is left in there. Select the group again, bring them at 100% intensity. Move over to the focus tab and set our zoom level first to our wide preset, maybe like this. Yep, this is also the widest setting possible here. Store this as our first wide preset, bring it down, maybe like this, store our zoom mid position or preset, and bring it all the way down to get this nice beam look for our zoom narrow preset. The last presets that we have to take care are those presets down there in the second focus preset pool, which contain our actual focus values. And we have a stack of 3x3 presets here, as we need them for our 3 different zoom levels, so wide, mid, narrow, and also for our 3 optic scenarios where we have the open one, Gobo Wheel 1 active, and Gobo Wheel 2 active scenario. So this gives us a total of 9 presets here. When storing those presets, you have to ensure that only the actual focus value is in the corresponding preset and not the zoom preset. This will give you a bad result for the show control. So it's a bit tricky to separate this because it's basically the same preset pool, but we will show you a way how this can be done, and it's not a big deal, but you have to keep an eye on it. So first, select your group, bring it up to 100% intensity, select your first optics scenario. So let's choose Gobo Open first and the first zoom stage. The next step is to clear your programmer twice. So I hit clear twice, and this will deselect all active features in here, which will be recorded, and also, unfortunately, will bring out my group selection. So I will hit the group again, and as you can see, nothing will be recorded. And now I can simply work on my focus value. I put this to 100% because in this visualization there is no really difference, not really a difference. So this is just fine. And as you can see, I have only the focus value, and the zoom preset is not active for recording. So let's store this first one here, and we can now select simply Gobo Wheel 1. Because this won't matter, as Gobo is a different preset pool, so it won't be recorded. And I can simply work on the focus here until it gets sharp. Nice, this looks good. So I will record this one. And for the last one, I select my Gobo Wheel 2, work on the focus again. It's basically the same for this visualization, and store this here. Now I will switch my zoom level and also go back to the starting point. So let us move there. Same procedure as in the beginning. Hit clear twice to deselect everything. Select your groups again and start working on your focus. Like this. Store this here. Select Gobo Wheel 1. Work on the focus again. Store this there. Let's select Gobo Wheel 2, work on the focus again. It's the same. Hard to see, but it should be fine. It's like in real life, it's often hard to see those focus things. Okay, so done with the second stack, and for the last stack we repeat the same. Go there, select our last zoom stage, and this will be quite challenging now with this really narrow beam. But we proceed the same way, hit clear twice, select the groups again, and work on your focus until your beam is nice and sharp. Store this first preset here, select Gobo Wheel 1, work on the focus again, like this maybe, just as an example. Oh, this was a bit fast. Store this second preset for the narrow zoom stage, and move for the last, move over for the last Gobo Wheel 2 preset like this. Work on the focus again, make sure that it's active, store it, and you're done. After we have successfully stored all our presets for fixture group A, we can move over to fixture group B and clear our programmer. And this should be a really quick run through, as we have the Titan cubes in our fixture category or group B, and they only have the strobe functions and nothing else. So you can just leave the other presets as they are, because those fixtures don't have those functions. So I won't show this in the video because I think you got the basic principle, and you can just do it in the same way as we did it for Group A. So let us move on to Group C. For our last fixture group, Group C in this tutorial, things are a bit different, as we are using a more complex fixture type, which also contains sub-fixtures, and therefore we have to use our pixel master group to separate the master fixtures with the basement control from the individual pixels. To get everything right here, you have to consider which group is relevant for the corresponding features of your presets for this fixture category. To take that into account within the show file, you have to move over to the show file menu and do some settings here. You will find the tilt bars as our group 3, and on the right side there are some additional checkboxes that you can set, and also another important gear icon. You already know the auto pause, but there are 4 other things left that are also quite helpful. The first 3 checkboxes are there to tell the show file if it should use the pixel master group, so the PMG, instead of the normal symmetric group for a certain feature set. So for position, strobe, and the other optics things like zoom levels. And in this case, with our tilt bars, we want this for all 3 of them. So we want the positions for the pixel master group. We want the strobe control for our pixel master group, as our subpixels won't have an individual strobe control. And we also want this for zoom and so on, as those tilt bars also do not have any individual zoom levels for the single pixels. Before we leave the show file menu, we want to utilize this little help macro called dim default, which will basically adjust your default dimmer value for the pixel master group, so your main fixture of your tilt bars, to 100 and put its sub-fixtures dimmers by default to 0. And this is great to give full intensity control to the single pixels to achieve nice pixel intensity effects. To understand better what it does, let us first check our fixture sheet, and here we will see that our main dimmer of our tilt bar is closed at the moment by default, so my programmer is cleared, and that all the other sub dimmers are open. And we want a behavior that is quite the opposite, to get a nice control over the individual pixels. So let us move back to the show file menu and just hit this little macro, and after that we will check our fixture sheet again, and as expected it is now vice versa. So main dimmer is open, sub dimmers are closed, and this will give you a great control for all those pixels, so that you can utilize them in bumps and also all our predefined intensity effects. Okay, after this is done, we can move back to our presets and simply store them in the same pattern we did it for group A and B. As the process of storing all those presets is exact the same, I will not do it in full in the video, but let us do 1 or 2 examples just to get a common understanding, especially with regard to the intensity control now. If I select my pixel master group, the dimmer is already open, as we stored this with this little help macro, and we have to also select the symmetric group A and set the dimmer to full to get some light output here. As an alternative way, you can normally also use the pixel master group in combination with highlight. If your fixture type is properly configured, this will work too. So just keep this in mind when storing those presets, and don't be surprised if 100% intensity on this dimmer won't give you a light output. Okay, so let's store some quick looks, and we will start with 2 positions. Therefore, we select symmetric, bring the dimmer to 100. I prefer this way of working compared to using highlight, because highlight will also influence zoom values and other things normally if there's a highlight value in your fixture profile. And sometimes it's really helpful, for example, to bring down the zoom when storing positions to get a better understanding of your overall look. So let's quickly adjust the tilt value, maybe like this for our straight down look, and maybe like that for our straight up look. And in that way you can for sure continue for all the other positions, and you can also use the auto pause macro, but don't expect too much because it's basically influencing the pen. won't be a big result when using tilt bars. Okay, so for now we will just finish this section of our group C with some other zoom presets. We will skip the rest of it and just store maybe our zoom wide real quick. Zoom mid, maybe like that. Oh, I skipped the view. So there we go. And the last one is our zoom narrow. Yeah, and that's basically it. We're done with the presets that are there per fixture category and can now focus on the last set of presets, which are our color presets in this extra view up here. Before we store those color presets, let's take a quick look at our main groups down below, which have not played a role so far except for the naming of our fixture groups, but we will use them now to store our color presets, as they are a combination of both theme and pixel master groups to ensure that we have color presets that work both with subfixtures but also master fixtures. To set them up, simply move over to the show file menu, as there's a plugin or a macro to do that for you, and hit the regen groups icon. This will just rebuild those groups, and as you can see right now, you will find 3 active groups for your group A, B, and C. To store your color presets, simply select all 3 groups, bring their dimmer to 100%, and select the colors you like. And afterwards, use the store command. You can be really fast on this if you're doing this in preparation with a visualization tool like I'm doing it right now, because the colors on a real stage with real fixtures will look different anyway, so don't waste time here and be quick on this. On the real stage then, make sure sometimes to also select only one fixture category and fine-tune their color until you're satisfied, and afterwards use store in combination with merge to make sure this color information gets in there without killing other color information of the different remaining fixture categories. So just continue in the same way for the remaining color presets, and after that you're basically done, and you've successfully completed step 3, which is setting up all of your presets. As a last step before running a show, there's just one more thing to do, and this is moving over to the show file menu again and hitting our regen all button. This takes a little while, as our plugin adjusts and optimizes a lot of things for you in the background. For example, the color effects are built based on specially created presets with an integrated color preset, or the bumps are generated according to your rig size. Once the macro has run through, you are ready to go and you can test all the functions in our show views. For example, we can turn on our hybrid spots and our tilt bars, apply a color on all of our fixtures, maybe add an intensity FX on our tilt bars, and as you can see, it works perfectly, and you get a nice symmetrical behavior also with those pixel elements. And in addition, for example, we can also apply a color FX on our spots. As we believe that this layout here is quite intuitive, we will not go into detail. However, we would like to highlight 2 points of this layout view. The first thing is this little calculator icon here. You can use it to modify all the FX that are in the show file. Therefore, simply hit it, and afterwards the effect that you want to adjust. In our case, we will just use this running FX, and then you can simply play around with all the parameters in here. For example, we adjust the wing setting, maybe add a block of, let's do 8, and as you can see, this will directly influence your running FX. As a special add-on, you can also change the symmetric group that is used for the FX. I will now use a different one, And as you can see, the effect now looks different. This is the case if you set up an alternative symmetric group, as I did it in the background of the video for our tilt bars, which is a straight line, so just one single line, and not two lines of them. So I just created another version, which is a really cool feature in our opinion, to further modify those FX. This can be really handy if you have a more complex rig or also line elements as we have them here. After you have modified the FX, simply close this dialog and everything is fine. There's no need to save things. You can just switch to another FX and switch back, and you will directly get your designed FX back. A second special element that we want to point out is this little up icon here. This is there to save some space for you in your position layout view, because you can use it to modify your fan positions and some other special creative looks that you might want to have in your show. So as you can see, it changes those numbers there. And for example, we can now use a 5 fan or move on and use 2 fan. Just by hitting this up icon, we can switch between those different fanning styles. And it also changes this little magic icon there, which we call creative position. And those are simply related to your creative presets and should be considered as some free space for you and your creativity to store some special looks for your show. As you may have noticed, there are still many elements in those layout views which we don't actually need for our current design with our 3 fixture categories. For example, we have only our hybrids, so our spots, our moving light fixtures that need those positions and the position FX. To fix this for all those layout views here, simply move over to our show file menu and adapt the feature grid. We also showed this in our feature overview video, but we will do it here also. So just select or deselect all the functions that you need or don't need. In our case, tilt bars will have IFX, ColorFX, CFX. They will get optics because they have zoom. Our Titan tubes will only have intensity FX, color FX, color and color FX, no positions, no position FX, no optics, and no multi FX. And hybrid spots will have everything. So this is fine, and we then simply confirm this by hitting Gen Layouts. We wait some seconds, and afterwards the show file is adjusted, and you will find a nice and clean overview for your show, which only contains your correct fixture categories or groups with their corresponding feature sets. For the end of this video, we would like to talk about another special feature of our show file that we haven't covered yet, and this is our override section here, which is a simple tool for spots, so solo spots and other highlights in your show. Please notice that this section is not functional by default and must be set up separately according to your needs. Therefore, move over to the preset area and select our global presets down there. Here you will then find 10 prepared slots for all presets, which must be used for those override looks. As an example, in this video, we will create a solo spot for our piano guy. Therefore, we have to first select our fixture that we want to use for this, or multiple fixtures. This is also possible. And yeah, in our case, we use, let's say, spot 1103. So this is a spot of our front truss. First thing we want to ensure is that we set the dimmer to 100%. We want this solo spot to be in white, like we see it now here. So this is the spot that we've selected. And we will then simply adjust the position to our needs. So let's bring it down, maybe like this. This looks quite good, I think. This is cool. Maybe a bit more to the right. So then we will also maybe modify the zoom a bit. So like this, we will get it a bit tighter. And Before we will save this now, it is important that you hit the stop IFX and the stop PFX preset there, because this will ensure that no FX is running if you hit this override icon afterwards. So the preset will then stop all running FX. In the most scenarios, this really makes sense for solo spots. Maybe there are also some use cases where it don't make sense. That's why we leave it open and do not automate this. So if you want to create a standard solo spot, hit both of them after you're satisfied with your look, and then simply hit store and override this first override all preset. After this, quickly move over to our show file menu and hit the regen override icon. This will then store the corresponding sequences for you, and you're good to go and check out your first override look. By default, move in black for your overrides is active. So if this is active, you will get a nice and smooth move in black transition to your solo spot position. So this is a nice and very clean way of highlighting things. If you deactivate this move in black behavior, you will get a direct transition. So with the movement and all the other features that changes to your solo. This can be cool if you want to really show the audience that something is happening. I think it doesn't make sense with this look where the spot is pointing upwards, but it could be cool if we maybe use a spot in the back and this is just moving forward and pointing towards our piano guy. And that's basically it. You've learned all the essential elements and steps of our show file, and with a little practice you can easily also bring large stages to life in about 30 minutes. We hope you found this video useful and you enjoyed testing all those functions in your own show. If this is the case, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any news and future videos.